Hello again, everybody. Thought I'd start with a far away view so you can see the entire locomotive and some of the stuff that I've been working on today. Haven't done anything with this yet. This is the loco parts whistle. Also the loco parts blowdown valve. Just put it into position to start looking at arrangements and where to put it. I don't think I've ever showed these. These are the doors with the little hinges. So for the cab, I spent a lot of time on those. So that's looking good. And right here, this is a very important thing. This is the super scale economy injector that will put water in the boiler. And this is the reason I went to all the trouble to make the 5/16 inch supply line and the custom made fitting with, this is a 1/4 inch flare, but it's all been bored out to allow for 5/16 inch flow. This is 5/16 inch flare on the other side. I did a couple of videos this weekend about that. And so now I can start playing with whereabouts to put the injector. So this might be a good spot for it. It could actually even be closer, I suppose, with a very short water supply pipe. So Fred, I'll defer to your expertise. Let me hold it right there. You can see where my hand is. This is looking inside the locomotive. You can see where the header supply is, where the Johnson bar is, and where the piping will have to come down. So there is some room, but it'll be an interesting thing to figure out, and I could certainly use some good advice about that. But I think that'll work out very nicely. The other thing, on a similar note, I played around today. I made a little bracket out of steel for the water supply and return for the axle pump. So these are both 1/4 inch flare, and the idea is that I'll silver solder these fittings onto this steel bracket, which is just being held with a clamp right now, but that'll be permanently fixed to the locomotive, and then I can have the supply, and then one will be the supply from the tender, and the other will be coming back to the boiler, to the bypass valve, which if it's closed, then that will put the water into the boiler from the axle pump. The other big thing I worked on today, I got some more sheet steel, and this is a little bit thinner gauge. That's 20 gauge, I believe, same stuff I used for the boiler wrapper, and it's pretty stiff. This is 26 gauge, and I needed to bend up into, there's actually two separate pieces that scissor together to create a bit of a foot plate here. I've punched in it, I'll show this at a later date, but I've punched holes. There's a little flange on this side, and I've punched holes in there so the thing can be bolted up to the bottom of the running boards on either side, and then I can also fasten it down here. So, and the idea is that I can bore a hole here and then silver solder a fixture in that's connected to the gas control valve. So that's the game plan here. Let me step over to the other side, and you can see a little bit of it perhaps right here. If I pull up on the gas control valve, you can see the sheet steel moving up, and the part that's moving around right now, that's the part that will hopefully be permanently fastened into the rear plate of the locomotive, and that'll give a nice firm mounting place for the gas valve. And the idea with all of this is I can get all these fittings in place, and then remove the boiler so I can run the gas piping to the burner and the water at least to the supply to the axle pump, and then take the boiler off and work on putting all of the fittings and pieces that I made for the boiler, getting those together and piping it up and getting it ready to fire up sometime in the next few months. So thanks for watching. I will keep you posted.